What do they do?
All right, how's everybody doing today? The only person who's supposed to be here who's not here yet is my wife. So she's got a lot of children, so we'll give her great mercy.
Do you want us to tell you how that works, Brandon?
What's that? How does it work? It's hard to get a lot of children moving. I only had to bring one. What do you mean? Yeah, I wasn't really listening very well.
That's all right.
Jump off to the camera.
You say yes, I never
Oh. Cool. Well, thanks for coming to a policy party, which is the best kind of parties if you think about it, right? Everybody loves policy parties. I'm going to grab one of these, pass it around. My favorite things in the world are not necessarily policies. I kind of like being free to do whatever I want. But you can't do whatever you want anywhere, really. And policies like this are important to protect us and to protect the kids. Our ultimate goal is to disciple and to teach kids to love Jesus and follow them. And we have to do that in a framework that keeps people safe, keeps us safe. And so we've revised these, and it was important for us to every year, every 2 years, something like that, to just circle back and make sure everybody kind of knows what we expect and what we've all as a team agreed to do. And so that's what this is. So the goal for today is we're all just going to go through it, and we have a volunteer acknowledgement form where we all say, hey, we understand what we're all agreeing to, and sign it. It's good to be able to, as a church, say we do this. We train our volunteers, and we all are on the same page. So though it doesn't have a lot of glamour to it, this is an important thing to do. So I'm just going to kind of go through these things. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you because that's kind of boring, but I'm going to hit sort of the main points. So we'll just talk through this, and then at the end I'll have time to just ask questions and stuff. And we're all a big team together, so I don't consider myself to be like the best person or the most knowledgeable when it comes to policies and how to best do things. And so if there are things even in this updated version that you think, hey, we could probably do it this way and it would be better, talk to me, because this is something we always want to be improving. And there's a couple things that we've updated and changed that I think will help everybody, but there's always better ways to do things, so keep that in mind. Go to page 4. Well, the philosophy of children's ministry on page 3, we want to teach them about Jesus. That's the philosophy. And children are excellent, and we love them, and we want to keep them safe. Key thing to remember that I always have to remind myself is that for regular families and us, this place feels safe because we've been here a million times. But for new people and people who are just acclimating, they don't feel safe yet. They don't know the rooms. This is a confusing layout, the way that the school is. And so a lot of the reasons that we have to do things excessively safe is because we want to have the actuality of safety, but almost more importantly is the perception that it feels safe. And so if you had people come over to your house, some of the things that we have, you just wouldn't be as extreme as we are in a building like this, but we kind of have to be just to keep things safe. So that's what I always remind myself of when it's like, do we have to do this? We kind of do, just to help. And if parents don't feel safe, they're not going to come back, and they're going to skip out on Foundry Church, because if their kids aren't safe, doesn't matter how great Mark's worship is or Tim's sermon is, if their kids aren't able to feel like they can be kept safe, they're going to go somewhere else. So safety and security, page 4. Variety of ways that we want to select workers and stuff. We have a 6-month rule, so you got to come to Foundry for 6 months. Face-to-face interview where I just talk to people, and background check. All of you have been background checked. We do it it's like a 2-year cycle. It's nice we do an online one now, so it's easy. There's not a lot of paperwork, and then that's nice because I don't have to keep track of like personal information that we have to keep in a safe, so that's nice. It reduces that liability. Page 5 talks about probably the most important sets of rules that we have. We use teenage workers, which is great. When they're in your room, they're your responsibility too. So it's kind of a blessing and a responsibility that they're kind of in a similar boat as the kids. in that you're the ones in charge. So if there's a, Jordan Goodman or Jonas Thielander or anybody that's back there, you're in charge, right? They're not the experts, you are, and you're the one that's kind of helping to make sure that they're not picking up babies that they shouldn't be picking up, or doing things that are incorrect. So really view yourself. The reason that I like to use teens is because, first of all, they love to help, and it's a good way to give them a service opportunity that is provides good discipleship for them. And so if you need guidance on taking care of these teenagers, or if there's probably more likely, if there's a teenager that maybe is not in the right place, that's a nice way to say it, it's not working for them, talk to me, talk to Hannah. We don't want them there just because they want to be there. We want them there because they are growing and being helpful. And to be honest, most of the teens we have are excellent. We have some of the best helpers that I think I've seen in children's ministry in a long time. Yeah, I've been amazed by them. The 2 adult rule is something that we strive for, and actually in most of the classrooms we're able to do this, but we really want 2 adults to be in each room. The preschool is kind of the one exception with how we staff it because we have so few preschoolers, but the idea behind it is 2 adults is the best because they can help each other, enjoy each other. There's kind of an enjoyment factor, and if something happens, there's 2 adults in the room that can help out. So we bend the rule a little bit up in preschool by having a teen helper and 1 adult just because of the numbers, but that's our goal. And we also want to have kind of a no closed door policy. Everything's kind of in a big open space. The school building doesn't have a lot of doors that can close, but there are like curtains and things people can go behind. So be aware that it's always best to have kids out in the open. We do small groups up in this big main room here. There's doors open when there's small groups with the 4th and 5th graders and stuff up here. So it's kind of like open door policy is one of the things we want to do. If there's ever child abuse, hopefully this never happens, but if there's a kid that comes in, it just seems like something's off, it's our responsibility to report that. So if you've noticed anything like that, come talk to me, and we have to follow some of these procedures just to make sure that there's not a kid who's coming to our church that is obviously in a situation that's bad and we just turn a blind eye to it. We want to protect everybody. Page 6 talks a little bit about check-in, check-out procedures. There's a little bit more later on, but that's another important safety feature. The check-out and check-in is where the parents are there, and so that needs to be done really well, where when kids are coming in, we're greeting them and making sure that they know where they're supposed to go, and when they're checking out, if we don't personally know the parents, they got to have one of those tags. Sometimes grandma, grandpa wants to come pick them up, and we got to make sure that we have the correct matching tags. I recently updated the check-in tag, so I meant to have one printed off so I could show you, but it's a lot clearer. There's the emergency contact, so if something happens, you can always just look on that tag, and it'll have whoever checked them in, their number. And that's the number that you would want to text as like a first resort if there was something that, crying babies, kids hurt himself. We'll talk about that in a minute.
You have my phone number.
Yeah,
That's my husband's name, but I'm like, don't worry.
Don't worry. Text that number, and that's kind of an important part of it. It also lists medical things and allergies and stuff like that. We updated the safety and evacuation plan for the school, and basically all the classrooms, if there's a fire or some sort of alarm, some sort of like trouble that causes everyone to need to evacuate, they'll come into the check-in room and out these doors and to the basketball courts. That's where we'll all congregate. It's important for us to all be together, because then the next step in some kind of emergency is me or somebody who's the service lead will pull out the cell phone and just check the kids. Do we have them all? We've got them all checked in online, and we can just pull it up, and that's why everybody together is important. So keep that in mind. Say that again?
Is there a way to get out of the basketball?
There is. There's a gate on the other side there.
You have to walk up the right.
Yeah. So it's basically, if you go out, you hang a left, and it goes along that turf field, and then there's a gate over there that can be gone through. Page. Yeah. Page 7. Some of our policies. These are another one of the important policies. Discipline policy. No physical discipline. I don't really see that like being something that needs to be said, but we'll say it. We don't do any kind of like physical stuff. Presence is the best discipline. It's kind of like a school. The way teachers handle discipline in the classrooms is how we do it. You can sit next to them. You can move them somewhere else. This is more elementary and preschool, and you can call the parents, but there's kind of nothing else we can do. If they're trouble, that's what the parents are for. You kind of call them back. But yeah, we don't do anything physical with them. Diaper and restroom policies are pretty important because this is another one of those areas where it deals with kind of intimate parts, so to speak. And so for babies, it's always on the changing pad with gloves with the safety strap, so that way we can make sure that there's no baby rolling off the table. That's one of the biggest dangers for nursery babies. For elementary and preschool, we have a great benefit that each of these pods have male and female restrooms. And so this is where, just like the teachers here at the Montessori, they don't ever go in those restrooms with the kids. They just say, here's the girls' restroom. You can walk them to it, and then they go in and they do their business. We don't really have any preschool people, but anyway, so if they ever need help, like, there's some kind of problem, we encourage them to do it themselves. If it's absolutely, there's a big crisis, something bad has happened, let's bring 2 adults in to kind of help them and let the parents know. But generally, kids, if they're potty trained, they can handle it 90% of the things all on their own, and there's not going to be a problem. We've updated our food policies just because of sanitation and allergies, and so the general rule is that we don't, if people ask, hey, do you have food back there, we say no, we don't give out food. For the nursery, it's probably the most important because we've got this interesting mixture of babies, crawlers, and 2-year-olds. And 2-year-olds probably would really benefit from snacks. Crawlers, it's probably kind of dangerous because Jude is probably the biggest culprit because he'll carry food around and then drip it everywhere, and then somebody who shouldn't get food could crawl over to it. So just for safety, we say no food. If a parent says, hey, yeah, I need my kid to have this snack, we can give it to him outside of like the play panel area. That's fine. But generally, we want to keep the inside food free. For preschool and elementary, there are days where we do parties and stuff. And so the rule on that is we just post what food is being served and any allergies. So it's more of an exception rather than like a rule. So the nice things for parents, hi, Hannah, by the way. We can just be able to say, hey, if a parent says, hey, is there anything that my kid's allergic to this, that, and the other, we can say, hey, don't worry, we don't do any food. There's not going to be a problem of them running into peanut butter or gluten, thank you, or any of those sorts of things. Yes? Bottles is obviously an exception, yeah. If a parent needs a bottle, yeah, give them a bottle. Yeah, I would say any kind of sealed drink that's not going to pose like a problem of, do like the Jude rule. Like if could Jude cause a problem with it, then it's okay. But yeah, obviously bottles is great. And honestly, some parents would want their kids to have snacks. And so for nursery folk, I actually have an alternate setup in there that for nursery people, I want us to think, how could we do that well? I've paneled off like a room with the table. I looked at it this morning, I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. But we can figure out a way to maybe make it so that there's a space that Jude doesn't wander off, or any kid that needs a snack. So I want to work with the nursery team to figure out how do we do that well.
And that would be a snack that the parent provided?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or if like some parent wants the kid to be able to, they're real hungry, they didn't get breakfast, and they got a donut hole, they can kind of sit at the table and finish it, go in.
Well, I would have been one of those parents because Valerie, you to feed that child at 11 o'clock, or you would be very sorry.
Yeah, and we want to be able to, and for some kids it's important for them. It's sort of an activity, but it's unfortunately I think it's a little bit too much of a liability to kind of have to give it to everybody. But if a parent wants it, great. Well, then we do it for them. Crying children. This is page 8. A lot of this is nursery, you'll notice, because nursery has a lot more going on. This is kind of at the discretion of the nursery workers, but I would say if a kid's crying for more than like 10 minutes and just won't be consoled, you got to text the parents, alerting them via text. I kind of provided like a little sample there under the first bullet point there. Hello, this is somebody from Foundry Kids Nursery. Your child's been crying and needs your attention. You just text them and let them know. If you don't hear from them, then you can contact me, or there's a list of names.
Me and Jonas out front can run errands for you too.
Yep.
To run in and get a parent for you. You can always ask
I'm pretty
us.
sure mine's the only one that cries in there.
No, it's not. No,
Sets off everybody
that's
else.
not true. That's not true. Mary's
That's
a
not true.
crier.
It's not true.
We got Mary as a crier right now. We have this toddler boy that's a crier.
So we just got a lot
We just
more
have a lot
babies
more
that
right
need
now.
to be integrated, and so it's the nursery people are saints because they kind of have to hold these kids that are just slowly learning to be cool with all the other kids, and eventually they get there if the parents just keep coming and keep bringing them.
Yeah.
you know. And even Scarlett. Last time I was told she was able to fall asleep. I think you did that, right? Did you help?
That was the week.
Was that a couple weeks ago?
My grandma was in there last week.
You know what? 2 step forward, 1 step back. That's how it goes.
Okay, Melissa, it's fine.
No.
Brandon, I don't know I understand the philosophy, but I'm at the point where, well, it just doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Because it's babies, and it's kind of like I'm thinking the mom needs a break.
Sure.
And if I can live with crying for an hour, even if they, like, I know she will.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would say that if you've got enough help and you feel like you can keep them, do it. But if there's like a shortage, because nursery is a little hard to staff, because sometimes you have so much that we need like a lot of hands in there, and then sometimes there's only a handful of babies that come. And
I
so
had Jen for last week and 3 teens.
No, it's
Last
somebody
week.
else.
yeah, that's the Mowers. They all like to
There
help.
were literally like 2 women in there, but like 6 tiny babies. So I was like,
my
yeah, give her to me.
Yes.
Take a couple of them.
Yeah. So don't.
Yeah.
And we try to have 3 people back there, but every once in a while
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
hard.
we have 2. So.
Yeah.
Well, and some kids learn that 10 minutes.
Yeah. If they keep at
It's
it, they know
true.
mom will eventually reappear.
I
Good
remember
point.
Wendy Coward saying that about
Sorry.
about she was taking to the and he knew. He learned real quick what their time limit was, how long they allow the crime baby.
That's amazing. I can handle this.
Yeah.
She's like, I can cry for 10 minutes and mom could come back.
I love that.
All right, so bottom of page 8, wellness. We're entering into flu season in the winter, and so we're gonna work together to kind of keep these rules. If kids come in and they're really sick, we have to encourage parents to help us out, because man, it spreads so quickly. And I just
try to be bad cop for you guys.
yeah, we'll have our
check-in
check-in people
and
be
tell
bad
them.
cop, but if a kid is really kind of snotty and stuff, let us know, or maybe talk to the parent, because it kind of gets disease everywhere. And we try and keep our stuff clean, but man, it's hard to keep our stuff clean because this is set up and tear down, and so we don't have a lot of time. I sanitized all the play mats in the nursery, so I mopped over it this week because they're looking really like not good.
I've had elementary schoolers in school come and say, "Yeah, I threw up last night," and I send them out to the office so we can we can not send them out of the office.
Kick them out.
Me and Jonas,
Jonas
will
if
take
you
care
hear
of
that,
it.
let somebody know,
Definitely.
because parents will try and get away with that if they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, especially when you have a bunch of kids. And see, I'm one of the culprits in this. I'm like, let's just see if we can sneak one sick one in with the 4 well ones. It's fine.
Yep.
Because you need the childcare.
And you need,
Yeah.
you gotta go to work, right?
Yeah.
On Sunday morning, that's a little more.
Yep. Throw them
Yes.
in there.
Kids congregating just causes stress.
Cool. Yeah, so page 9, first aid incident report. One thing that I'm going to eventually get in every room right now, it's just in the check-in booth, is if there's some sort of injury or like some kind of incident, we have a little form that we'll fill out. That way we keep documentation. This is stuff if it's like something more than just like a bump, a kid falls, it's fine. But if it's something that's would be a scratch or a bigger bruise, we'll need to report it. And when you have to use your discretion, if something serious happens, we definitely tell parents when they pick up. But if it's serious enough, we want to text them and get them back there to look at it. For nursery, I kind of listed out a choking policy. If a baby is choking, this kind of lists some things to do. I'm curious, how many of you are CPR certified? Anybody? A couple people? You are, Julie?
I used to be when I was a kid. All the time. But
Great. One of the things that we're going to begin to integrate into the children's ministry budget is every January we're going to offer some CPR classes for people, because I want to be able to say, this would be amazing to be able to say, hey, we've got CPR certified people every Sunday in the children's ministry area. So that way, that's that extra level of safety. How often would that happen? Hopefully never, but it's just another one of those things that's extra safety. So I'm going to be giving information. I think it's a 2-year certification, and so I'll be scheduling that. I'm going to take it because I've done it years ago, but I'm not certified. So just be looking for that. We got a lot of nurses and doctors that are like they're just forever certified. So that's just kind of what they are. So that's nice. So we can almost say that, but it's something to look for.
Do any of our kids have that? What do you call that? EpiPen? Do you have any EpiPen kids right now?
I don't think so. Not that I know of, but
And you would know.
They would tell us.
Yeah.
They would tell us. Yeah. We have often had them. So
Yeah, we've had a couple.
kind of a
So that'll be another thing that we would train people up when that starts to happen. Page 10, a little bit more on first aid. Generally, we only do Band-Aids and ice packs. You know, we don't give out Tylenol or anything like that. It's children, so most people wouldn't even think of doing that. But
that's the key.
so page 11, volunteer responsibility, and you can kind of look through these things as well. Scheduling, I think just about, yes. So that's a good question. Thank you for asking that. In every cart, there's a first aid kit on the main cart. So nursery, it's the one that's got the toys and stuff on it. I think it's up in the top left. If that's not there, we always have a really well stocked one in the check-in bin right there. But every room has it. Yep. Oh, okay. That looked like a question. No, you're good. Hi, Mom. Scheduling. Planning Center is great for my soul. When people block out dates that they're unavailable, it's super helpful. So if there's anything on that if you're having trouble and it's like not letting you in or something, text me, talk to me, I'll help you, because it helps me to know when people are available, unavailable.
Is everybody familiar with that? Like how you go in and block out your dates and
I feel like people in this group know what they're doing. Yeah.
okay. Planning Center.
Planning Center, yeah.
Do you have the app on your phone?
I think so, yeah.
I can show you some of that one. So we'll do training. We'll help people kind of know what they're doing in each of the rooms. Arrival and setup. We usually do a prayer meeting right at 9:30, so which is right now. Good for us. So try and be there on time. We want to make sure that we can open up check-in at 15 minutes before, so 9:45, and so we have to have all of the leaders in the rooms before we can start sending kids there. So
You'll have Spearman kids if nobody else.
sometimes that happens, yeah. Make sure as kids come in your room that they're actually checked in and they've got their tags. If they don't have tags, we don't know what number to text if there's a problem, so they really need to have tags. So if they don't, send them away. Sometimes kids rip them off and stuff, and we can always reprint them. So if there's any kind of tag issues, you can always talk to Jonas or Hannah or Leanne, whoever's out in the front. They'll be able to pull up their names and reprint. So that way it matches the parents. So if there's ever that problem, there we go. I think that's about it. Any thoughts, questions? Any specific ideas for, like, if you have like a policy idea or like this could be done like this, you can talk to me. I want to have this be a ever-evolving thing to make it really good. But generally, as far as the only big changes that we've had, we've kind of changed how we look at food. I've updated the tags, added the emergency evacuation policy. Oh, and in each of the classrooms, there's a list of numbers. My number is on it as the first one. So if there's ever like something that you need backup, text me or give me a call. I'm going to be better at actually turning the volume on my phone on so I can actually hear it. Hannah's number's on there, and there's a list of just a whole bunch of leaders who generally are here every week. So if you kind of need backup, those are the numbers that you go into, and they're categorized by room. So Anna Walton is the one on nursery, your elementary number. So we want to make sure you have resources. Yeah, she does. I have them posted on the carts, so I can show you in each of the rooms. There's the couple things posted.
Is that how you work out the logistics of two adults? Like, how are you supposed to have two adults and put a kid in the bathroom when there's only two adults there?
It's a good question. Yeah, I think that the way you'd want to do that is, hopefully there's a teen help, or you could text somebody to kind of help out. Jonas and Hannah are generally available. They could come down and watch the classroom.
Sarah.